Hello, Dan. Welcome to GTM Expertise. Thanks a lot for taking the time.
No worries. Thanks so much, Ben. Thanks so much for having me.
No problem at all. So we're going to talk a little bit about scaling from a solo operation to a kind of global creative journey, which we're kind of really excited to learn from some of those challenges that I know a lot of our audience will be going through at the moment, thinking about how they do that. But before we get into that, Dan, it'd be great to learn about where you've come from, I guess, what you've been doing, and what you're up to today.
Sure. Yeah, thank you so much. Well, I started my career in advertising, so a great place for a very kind of unruly type person like myself to begin. It was almost like that's where all the misfits happened to land in the creative ad agencies, and that was in Sydney. Great place to learn, amazing kind of people to learn from and with. I kind of was in the production department doing editing and tape dubbing and just got to know everyone, got to know the suits, got to know the creatives, had a great time with them and learning from them. And I think like having grown up in an ad agency is a great place to extend your network. Yeah, grew to different ad agencies, worked in London for a bit. Took the plunge to start my own business, which was Invisible Artists back in 2012, 2011, I think it was. Yeah, 2011. And, yeah, it kind of hit at the right mark at the right time with a few different things. Adobe subscription and DSLR technology kind of kicking off at that point. Yeah, just thought there was an abundance of work. There was a great amount of talent in Sydney at the time, and thought, well, if there's a time that's right, now's the time. And I decided to just grow the business as big as quickly as I could. And yeah, fast forward to kind of COVID and having to kind of transition into how that affected everything. And then I'm now in the midst of building my startup, which is the Guroos, which is a network collective. And yeah, just thank you so much for letting me chat away.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to chat through it. It sounds like a good journey to dig into. I think the plunge moment, if you like, is going to be quite familiar to a lot of people. How was that kind of first few days or weeks when you sort of made that decision and then you tried to sort of land your first client, or maybe you brought your first client? Like, how did that all kind of come together in those first moments?
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important part, is the feeling of having a client, or having someone that trusts you enough to pay you personally, and pay you or your team to do some work for them consistently. So I'd briefly left advertising for a year to join a small production company in which I brought 5 very small clients, but one of which was the Sydney Opera House, where my sister was working at the time. And we were just doing kind of small little edits and promotional videos for some of the upcoming productions that were happening. And that was good. But I brought those clients to that company. Didn't work out with them, which was fine. We parted on good terms, but I realized I've got 5. And by that time, I'd also been speaking to another couple of ad agency guys who said, "Oh, I now work here. Can you help us out?" And it just snowballed nice and slowly at that point. But I think my second daughter was 6 months old, so probably not the best time to start a new business. But it was just like that was the time. It was then, or it felt like at that time, then or never. So we started with 7 clients. Within 3 months, I'd hired a producer, Ingrid, and then another editor and an animator. And that's kind of where it all kind of, the business was generating enough income to pay for 3 people freelance to help out.
Yeah, right.
And that's where it was. And then I kind of realized quickly that if I need to keep it going, I need to find more work. I need to go and do more sales, but also I could grow it bigger than I expected because there was such a good amount of goodwill. So yeah, that was just kind of, that was the lead. There was a great podcast. Well, before I think podcasts were termed, Seth Godin did something called, I forget what it was called. It was something like Pitch. Oh, I can't remember, but it was this amazing podcast about how to either be an amazing consultant or build a business. And his view is very much build a business, but you can be a highly paid consultant and make a fortune, and you can go really fast and do that really well. There's loads of people who do that very successfully.
Yep.
or you can build something bigger, a brand that you can be proud of and leave a large legacy. So I chose the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that sounds like, and then this is where we talk to a lot of founders about this as well, especially their first few clients. It sounded like you brought both your connections, your network, your kind of goodwill that you'd paid, that's getting paid forward, I guess, and that's kind of how you started, and that allowed you to get some confidence in the product that you kind of put together, I guess, if you like it, and the services that you were delivering. Like, is that something that you can, so and as a founder then you kind of spend a lot of time thinking, well, okay, I've got those clients, but if I need to grow this bigger, I'm gonna have to spend more time on sales. How much time do you think you were spending on that kind of thing at the time? Were you able to still maintain a kind of hands-on approach to what your clients were delivering, or you were delivering for your clients, or were you focused mostly on sales?
I mean, I'll be completely honest. I don't really remember
Yeah.
when it was happening,
Yeah.
and I mean
Yeah.
that in the best way. It was kind of like I just had to do a bit of everything,
Yeah.
and it was kind of usually what was the most urgent that tends to
Yeah.
fall in front. It's a really lovely spot when you can get to a place where the business is running itself and you can be much more strategic about
Yep.
the things you do and where you spend your time. But right at the start, it's like,
Yeah.
need a new computer. Okay, someone go to the Mac store.
Yeah.
I've run out of Adobe licenses. Okay, we'll just get another one. It's
Yeah.
whatever's
Yeah.
most urgent and what's in front of you. And it's like we've only got like 10 grand in the bank and payroll's due next week. So
Yeah.
I need to go and get a first 50% from someone
Yep.
who said they were interested a month ago. Oh yeah, okay, call them up, see if they're interested. Yes,
Yep.
they said yes, great. So that's that
Yep.
box ticked.
Yep.
There is really anyone who has structure to that kind of thing when they first do it. I'd be amazed, but
Yeah. Totally.
yeah,
Totally. Yeah. I mean, and I think a lot of that, even with the best will and intention and research and I guess information that's out there on what it is like to be like that, much like any sort of taking the plunge event, there's a whole heap of unknowns that just come your way really quickly and really fast, and often take precedence and priority over those knowns, right? I mean,
absolutely, yeah,
that's for sure. And then so then you started sort of pedaling a lot faster at that point. You started getting clients on, you delivering the work, getting more clients on delivering the work. But where did you go from there? You sound like you were able to grow that into a multi sort of region, or at least multi location environment. Like, how was that scaling that kind of business, and how did you decide on where to go? It is probably quite key for us to understand, the regions that you went to. Why did you go there?
yeah.
And how did you set up?
So yeah, that was that again. That kind of there was opportunities that fell into my lap, and that was mostly through great employees. So there was the core set of employees who were basically Sydney based, always going to live in Sydney, talented, just wanted to do great work and get it seen by as many eyeballs as possible. Then there was another kind of core, like still core group who maybe were on working visas. There was a girl called Esther Lucia. She had traveled to Australia on a visa. Her visa ran out. She had to go back to Hong Kong. It's confusing, but she's Canadian living in Hong Kong. And we then decided to open up in Singapore at some point. But in order to do that, her boyfriend's going to London. What do we do? And the basic business plan was actually following Esther's work availability because she was so great for the company and we wanted to keep her. And I'd always wanted to come back to London and live and work here. I felt like my time was it's only been 2 years really where I'd done some post-production work, and I really wanted to kind of feel like we were connected to the rest of the world. To be honest, the main reason is probably when, I don't know if it's changed, but in Australia, I always felt like we were at the end of any innovation curve or any, well, a lot of the time budgets. Budgets were allocated out of Europe or America,
Right.
and Australia was kind of always a second or third thought. And I really wanted to be more, I wanted closer to where we could do some really fun, creative work. And I found London it keeps a lovely balance of innovation and creative thinking. And I still think the best creatives come out of London, like the funnel of London. So it could be, great English speaking French people in London, Spanish, Portuguese animators. Like, I just feel like it's a perfect funnel. So yeah, I really want to be based here. And Esther originally helped me set up London, and we kind of got things going here. Had a really good kickoff first year. It was absolutely amazing. And then within a year, we got another job in Singapore, which then kicked off the Singapore operation for Esther to move personally to more full time to Singapore. Singapore was just a great little kind of 1-2 seat business that sat there for a couple of years, just doing small work. So it was good.
Yeah, and like, so now suddenly you've opened 2 more offices. You've got time zones to deal with. You've got kind of the challenges of feeding, I guess, more folk with work. How did you feel about that? Like, how did you maintain the kind of same culture that you developed in Sydney? And it sounds like that traveled. I mean, it sounds very, very impressive that you're able to travel out into London, into Singapore, still do the same type of work, the exciting work that you're kind of known for and wanted to be known for. How do you maintain that as you start to scale to that kind of level?
Yeah, definitely the culture. Keeping the culture the same or similar is definitely the hardest thing, because it's that balance. You don't want to tell people what to do and what to believe in, because that gives them no identity. And
Yeah.
at the same time, you need to let them have their own input, because they want to feel connected. And so finding that balance is easily the hardest thing. And I don't really know any business that's got it exactly right. You kind of have to just let things be in certain circumstances. I think, yeah, look, the long and short of it was there were some teams that worked, and then some teams after a while realized, okay, that's not going to connect into the culture. But I think where we found that, like, the term product market fit, which I didn't really even know about until I think after,
Sure.
was the last years prior to COVID was almost like that perfect. Everyone was working really well together and everything kind of fitted. The teams worked well. The clients were really pleased. We were very efficient and working well. The sales pipeline was doing really well because everything else was functioning. Culture was really good. Everyone seemed happy. Yeah, and I suppose, we actually kind of went from the biggest point that Invisible Artist was, there was 32 people.
Wow.
On full time. So that's actually committed salaries. There's plus probably another 50 people who were, being paid every month from different shoots and different things. But we reduced it down to 15. I think it was 12 to 15. And that was perfect. That seemed to really hit the mark, where it was so much of our work was in Sydney and Singapore, all not from London, but having those time zone differences and similarities in Sydney and Singapore really helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think the lesson I'm hearing from that is that I think that you let the people in the team still kind of, I guess, grab onto the culture that you've sort of defined, but kind of express it in their own way. I think that's really cool. I think that's definitely a nice way to do it. There's a lot of merit that would then shine out in the work that you're doing in the sales pipeline, and this kind of nice virtuous circle of business that no doubt you were able to tap into. What about if we move forward to the Guroos now then? So we're what, 14 years now, 15 years since you founded Invisible Artists. So the world's changed a bit since then. How are you visualizing how the Guroos is going to go to market? How are you visualizing, I guess, where you're going to play, what sort of spaces you're going to go into, and how much of that are you leaning on from lessons learned perhaps in Invisible Artists?
Yeah, I think the biggest shift, which is probably impacting every person, is the fact that the Invisible Artist was very much a in studio team. Like, we'd build a team that worked well with each other in the same space, live, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, however long it took. And because that worked so well, that's where we kind of came unstuck with COVID, because I don't think anyone could adapt to working from home at that point. So the learnings from that were, how do we rebuild a team that is happy to both work remotely and reconnect at times of the week, if ever?
Yeah.
And still work together efficiently. Also understanding how with AI, how that plugs into the system as opposed to, I suppose prevents us from winning the work. I mean,
Mm.
I think there's so many aspects that can be done by marketing staff and marketing teams, but to do it well, which is always our core thing, is we want it to be premium, you still need humans to weave and adapt and learn and use AI tools to plug in, but ultimately we decide and we are the ones who are going to produce the work. So yeah, I think so working remotely is definitely number one. Number two is how these new tools fit in. So we're currently working on different processes for animation buildings where we might do some of the work in AI, and if it looks good, we'll kind of use that. We might implement some of that. We might use it to build the blueprint, and we actually just build it from scratch again because it's helped us learn something, and it's a form of research,
Yeah.
but it needs to be done in a different way, and we're going to start again. I don't know what the analogy is, but kind of like there's only so many prompts you can get to where you've actually started to kind of disassemble something that you might as well just done it from the start.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not certainly not known to be a creative, so I'm going to trying to put myself in your shoes. But I suppose in a creative environment, in an AI sense, and trying to get to a vision which you got in your head, and trying to sort of shove this kind of machine along towards your vision, and the number of tweaks and abilities to do that, talking that in natural language and trying to get that out of your head versus just doing it yourself must be quite a challenge, especially after you've got halfway into that process on an AI and it's still not getting anywhere near where you're trying to get to.
Exactly. Yeah.
I really like the discussion there that you're talking about, these tools being a part of the process, but still the humans are still going to be involved in that. Are you finding that building this team remotely from a cultural perspective is relatively straightforward? I mean, we're all pretty used to doing that now, I guess, in our lives, maintaining these kind of distant connections and the like. But in your kind of business, like how does that look for you in terms of remote work?
Yeah, I think there's the word honesty always resonates with me from being in business. I've always said this, like when I was in a job, I always felt like I had to lie a bit, like I kind of had to say I was really into this, or I'm really looking forward to the next thing. It's kind of like you're lying to yourself and to everyone, but that's just the game. That's what you have to do. And when you're on your own, when you've got your own thing, to be honest with yourself, have to be honest with everyone. But I feel like I'm way more honest with suppliers, with clients, and just saying, look, I've actually got 4 other things to finish this week, or we've got this thing, or I've got 2 other people that I'm talking to. Are we okay? And they're like, yeah, that's fine. Everyone's way more honest, I think. And yeah, I think gone are the days of when you could maybe, work from home and everyone's really suspicious of, oh, you're doing something on the side, aren't you? It's like, well, of course I am. Everyone is. But as long as you're honest about it, it's okay.
Yeah, totally. I mean, what makes me sort of interested as well is how that goes with regards to go to market. So, like, sounds like in the past you relied on a really great network that you built up. You had a lot of people. Invisible Artists was built from both knowing externally for clients, but also knowing the right people to bring into your business, and a lot of that is pressing flesh, right? It's being out and about, and certainly I know that's a little harder when you're remote. So, like, a lot of founders out there are working out perhaps past the first founder sales, or founder-led sales, as we call it, right? So past the first people that you're going to call to try and help you get validation that your product's right and that kind of stuff. After that, how do you view a go-to-market strategy for the Guroos? Like, are you going to leverage tools? And if so, do you feel those tools will help you get to the right ideal customer profile for you? I mean, your profile, I'm sure you got in your mind exactly who you think you're going to be targeting. So how today in 2026 are you going to be targeting those people and be able to connect with them?
I think the good and the bad thing is that all of the tools I ever need to use are right in front of me, and I know how to use them, and I've been doing them as part of my career my whole bloody life.
Yeah.
And then the bad thing is I have to use these tools. in the same way that I would do for clients. So,
Right.
yeah, it's like you're your own worst enemy because, or a builder's house is never finished because I know exactly how to market other brands, other businesses,
Yes.
and that's through everything. Like LinkedIn is huge.
Yep.
It's a massive strategy for most of my clients, B2B specifically.
Yep.
So it's kind of how do we leverage the new Guroos algorithm and LinkedIn? How do we
Yep.
build enough content that doesn't feel like AI generated for months ahead?
Yes.
How do we shoot videos weekly? How do we do this? And all of that stuff I'll do with clients, that's actually what I need to be doing for myself
Yep.
to then move to the next stage of marketing the Guroos. So, yeah, what will probably happen is I'll be too busy working on my clients to be able to do it for myself, but I'll do it as much as I can when possible.
Yeah.
And hopefully people see that and go, right, okay, I get it. It's just you need a new website.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, as a founder, together with Mark in the way that we go to market and things like that, I totally reflect on the same thing. We've been using these tools, we've been using these strategies. We can advise many clients on those strategies on how they could do what they should do. And it's clear as day for us when we're looking at their business, but holding up a mirror to your own business can be a lot harder. And then secondly, exactly that, like you've got a kind of choice between delivering the client work, which definitely nets you the income, and keeping that client, frankly, right? Because you're looking for recurring income or recurring jobs, and then working on your own business and trying to advance that. I totally get that, and I think that balance is, again, to your point earlier, if anyone's cracked that, like, let me know. Again, yeah, if anyone's cracked that, let us both know, because I think that'd be great. It's a perennial thing. It's very hard for you to kind of look inwardly and then look outwardly and see what you're looking at and saying, is that exactly where I want to go? Not necessarily just the clients I've got today, but where the business needs to head. So yeah, totally understand that.
I mean, I probably annoy everyone by constantly saying, like, you can't read the label from inside the jar. It's just, but it just visually
Yeah.
that represents everything. I'm going through some management consulting at the moment to just kind of reframe what the Guroos is and what we're doing. So this is
Yep.
perfect to actually talk to you at this time.
Yep.
And yeah, the things that they're saying is like, God, that's so right. God, they know, they can see through me.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're doing that in an honest process, and I think that's another, like, to your point about honesty. Like when you're using for remote work, it's the same goes when you're looking at your own business, right? And certainly as a founder, a lot of people should be really honestly looking at, okay, well, we did sort of start this journey heading in direction A, but we've decided actually it's not B, C, D, or E, but it's direction F that we should be going at now, and that's okay, right? And it's good to be honest about that, and having external help to come in and kind of draw that out of you, which you so probably tell you things you probably already knew, but you didn't really want to surface yourself. These are just honest truths that need to come out in some way, right? And how you get those out is that up to you. But that sounds like a good process. And do you find now that you've got a clear vision on how this collective will look? Like what does that look like for you in the future?
We're literally right in the middle of it now. It's kind of like there's a bit of time to kind of step back and
Nice.
have a think about it. It feels like I don't know, honestly. I just don't know how it's going to fall, because there's parts of it's not because of AI, but AI is going so fast in certain directions, and I've like to think I've not been victim to distractions with all of the other things that have gone before. Everyone's got short memories, but 5 minutes ago there was Vines, there was augmented reality, virtual reality, 360D videos. Like every few months, it felt like everyone said, "Oh, you got to get on the back of this. You got to. Have you seen holograms? They're the new thing." And then there's three. It's just, yeah, okay. But at the end of the day, like, the story needs to be good. It needs to draw a viewer in. Like the editing needs to be correct to the story. The music needs to feel good. There's foundations of everything that we consume as viewers to be entertained, and I feel like none of those things have changed, yet the format and maybe the way we view it now is shifting.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I just feel like I kind of don't want to get too distracted with like all of the buzzwords and things. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, certainly in the creative industry, so will perennially be a hot topic, I guess, as well, in the way that AI is being used for yeah, as you say, great tools and be able to get to where you want to. The other side of it, which is the creative licensing and ability for AI to kind of replicate prior art and prior work. But you could easily, with the pace at which some of those things are going, I think you can easily spend just your time on trying to keep up, and today's Monday, but by Friday you'll be out of date, right? So
Absolutely.
I think you're right, like focusing on the fundamentals and cutting through with exactly what you're trying to create. What tool you use or how you do it, I think is probably going to change over time, perhaps change a bit faster than it used to, I would imagine, but it's still just tools of choice and formats, right? And I think that's always going to have
Yeah.
that perennial change.
And I think also, just to build on that, there are brands that, you know, we can choose the brands and the look and feel of which we want to play in. So if you're happy to do, you know, insane kind of Betfred gambling ads, then of course
Right.
AI fits perfectly into that, because it's all zany. It can be anything, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's just online betting.
Yep.
I mean, I'm surprised McDonald's in the Netherlands did that one over Christmas, because as brand guardian for McDonald's, I wouldn't maybe let that one go through, but maybe it was just a test. I don't know. And Coke obviously have been doing it for a couple of years with their Christmas ads, and they're fully AI generated. And the thing is, if you didn't tell anyone, no one would know.
Yes.
So
That's right.
there's some brands that can get away with it and they're happy with that. Others would. It's just not. It's not how they work. So
Yep.
you choose which ones you want to work with.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right, so time to get a bit more honest then on some stories or mistakes or positive moves that you made that made a difference. It sounded like one of them, in the positive sense, was following Esther and just kind of working out how best to structure a business around someone who's a key employee, and that took you to great, you know, follow your gut feeler, right? I guess in that way. But what are the things as founding a business is now you founded, you've been on the tools before, and now you're kind of a lot more focused on business building. What have you kind of failed at that you'd like to look back at and not do again, or that others might learn from, or what were kind of a couple of things that you really learned that would be beneficial for folks to hear?
Yeah, I mean, there was, I used to love, well, still do love, just reading quotes and, you know, inspirational things every day. My dad used to do it. He used to have one that said "Make it happen" on the wall. I remember coming back from school one day. I said, "What does make it happen mean?" And he says, "Is what it says. If you don't do it, no one else is going to do it." And I was like, "Oh yeah, oh, you're right." And that one always stuck with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so if you want to do something and you've got a dream, make it happen. You know, no one else is going to do it for you. So that always stuck. The other thing, like, really, really, ignorance is bliss, and that kind of lovely period of time in your mid-career when you're thinking about building a business, the ignorance of everything that could go wrong is actually what completely and utterly helps you be amazing, and ignore all of the signs that are telling you to do something differently, because sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but then you go, oh, I learned that, I'll do it differently next time. So that ignorant side of things, you know, the amount of stupid decisions that I made to get to where the business was. And honestly, it took a good 7 years to get to that product market fit, which everyone talks about in, you know, in scale ups and startups, all those kind of things where, you know, 3 months into a seed round kind of stuff, it's like, no, that's not the kind of business I wanted. I wasn't interested in an investor led thing. I wanted to do this on my own. I wanted to bootstrap it. I wanted the business to generate the income to allow to see where this idea of the business could go to. And yeah, I just let a bit of fate, a bit of annoying, you know, sayings and quotes kind of guide me and the team. And yeah, really, really proud of what, you know, to have kind of grown to different cultures and countries and meet so many amazing people and work with so many amazing people, many of which are still friends, you know.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've personally had some big journeys or big kind of moments where bags of naivety, if I describe it like that to my friends anyway, helped. Because if you really knew absolutely everything about what you're about to do, you probably wouldn't do it. But that's not a reason not to do it, because you really like can only knock over what's in front of you, right? And that comes along in sometimes all at once, or sometimes every week or whatever it is. But if you're constantly thinking about, now especially, you could find out absolutely anything about anything at your fingertips. You got the tools to do it. It's only going to come up with plenty of reasons why not to do something. And I think kind of pushing all of that aside a bit, and staying focused on what you're going to do, and be honest. Yeah, it might not work out, but you're certainly going to learn and iterate quickly. Making it happen, to your point, is a better approach than worrying about where it could go wrong, because you're not going to really, I don't think, give yourself the best opportunity to make that successful. Then your attitude and daily attitude and getting up in the morning and doing that, singing the goal. Yeah. So I really like that. That's nice.
Yeah, and you just don't know either way. Like, it might work, it might have worked, it might not. It doesn't matter. You just have to kind of push forward a bit, and not let your head or other people tell you otherwise, or let you stray.
Yeah, 100%. I think that the fact that you bootstrapped it helps, because you haven't got, as we talk to a lot of folks, they've got a board of directors and investors and LPs and a whole heap of people that are going to tell you a lot of things that you perhaps should be doing. And there's a big, not conflict, but there's certainly a relationship there that is hard to take. If someone's investing in your business and telling you what you should do, versus you've got everything all in your own hands, I think that's a nice way to be. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing that maybe it's I'm a visual person, but the analogy of like never let anyone steer from the back seat.
Right.
So only you know like where the next turn is, what the best decision is, when to brake, when to speed up, you know. And I find a lot of investors, and particularly on the finance side, they'll steer you into weird decisions that they think are right because based on past experience, but they have no idea of where your head's at, who you're talking to, what you see ahead. It's very different.
Yeah. Being in the business is probably the only way you're going to get a sense of it, really. Like we talk to businesses all the time about that, and it's like, yeah, we could give you sort of what we've seen work before advice, but like that's probably useless for you, because the approach, the time, the product, the market that you're heading into, the personnel, a whole heap of other reasons why that probably won't be the right advice for you. And the only way to get in there is to live the business and understand it from inside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff, Dan. Well, this is a great place to finish. I really appreciate your time. It was really interesting to talk to you and get your sort of sense on scaling businesses and how you've done that, especially in the creative space. We'll be championing the Guroos from here and watching where it goes. We're really excited for you. So congratulations.
Thanks so much, Ben. Thank you so much for your time. All the best.
No worries. Thanks a lot, Dan. Take care.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.